Page 22, hunting song. Use our eighth notes more, and the music's going to get a little more complicated, and we're using the hands together and the different fingers. Okay, just take it slow and easy, and we'll figure it out. I like to look it over first. It's 3 lines long, treble and bass clef. This is in the key of C major when they eventually introduce key signatures to you. You need to be doing my scale video on C major, 1 octave up and down. Just do what I explained in that video. The accents and the wrists and the whole bit. Have 4/4 time signature, which means there's 4 counts in a measure and a quarter note gets a count, or there's the same as 4 quarter notes in every measure. Different ways of looking at it. And you think, okay, well, look at the first measure. There's 1 quarter note in it. What's going on? Where are the other 3? There's supposed to be 4. I just said there's 4. Yeah. Well, that's known as a pickup measure. Pickup. You see, sometimes music doesn't start on beat 1. It wants to start on some other beat. Well, they could put in rests for the other beats, and you still get there. But usually they don't. They just use a pickup measure. It's an incomplete measure, part of another measure, I should say. It's not an incomplete measure, it's part of another measure. Generally, they'll take the last measure of the piece. Look at the last line, last measure. You see a half note and a quarter note, or a quarter rest, excuse me. I know what that is, don't okay. That's 3 counts total. See, that's not 4 counts either. So they take the last measure of the piece and they chop it and they split it. And they take the end of that measure and they stick it at the top. So in order to get the full 4 counts, you have to consider both of those partial measures together, and that's 4 counts. And then the music theorists are happy and everybody's happy, and we can go on with the piece. The point is, we're not starting on beat 1. We're starting on whatever beat that would be in the measure. In this case, it's beat 4. Because the first 3 beats are at the last measure. So this is beat 4. It becomes more important as we get more into interpreting the music. And see, the written music doesn't tell us everything. We have to add the additional stuff. And that's where a teacher comes in. That's where you won't get in a book typically. A teacher would explain this. Well, you don't have a teacher? I don't know. Hopefully you do. But in case you don't, then I'll pretend to be the teacher and I'll try and do that. And things are going to get a little more complicated now. So take your time going through this. Don't be in a hurry. If you're starting to get confused or whatever, then go back through and review it all again. Just take your time with it. Anyway, back to what I was doing. 4/4 time signature, I said that there's a pickup beat. We're starting on beat 4, and now I see eighth notes and half notes and quarter notes and a whole note and tied notes and all that. Okay. I want to take it one hand at a time, make sure I understand what each hand is doing. And then when I go to put them together, it's usually a mess, but we'll deal with that later. Right hand, you're starting with thumb on here. Now your right hand is not moving around in this piece. Therefore, you do not need any of these other finger numbers. Please do not read finger numbers. It is a mistake. Gotta learn to read the notes. You should know these note names by now. If you don't, please go back and review everything and do the say it and play it drill, where you play the note and say the name of it over and over and over until these note names are automatic to you. And whatever position you're in this case the thumb is here, so we're in this position. They'll call it G position, but I don't really care what it's called. You're just here. You need to know which key each finger is on. You need to remember that. Takes time. We'll get there. It does come. So we got a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Remember the eighth notes. 1 and 2 and. Okay. Second full measure. The half note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Second line. 1 and 2 and 3 and rest and. The idea. Let's go down to the last line. Dotted half note, remember, is the same as 3 quarter notes. And it doesn't matter what the time signature is, it's always the same as 3 quarter notes. The point is, if I know how much a quarter note gets, this gets 3 times that. Quarter note gets a count, so this gets 3 counts. 1, 2, 3, rest, 1, and And that's what all you're doing in the last line until the last two measures, where that note is tied, so you're going to hold it down for 6 counts. You're just going to love it, I know. Okay. Left hand, well, you're starting thumb here. That puts your hand here, and you don't need any of these other finger numbers. Just cross them out. Read the notes. 4, 1, coming on beat 4. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember that little box that's sitting on the line? That's a half rest. It's the same as a half note, except you're quiet. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't this fun? Let's go down to the last line. Dotted half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this foot. Okay. Put the hands together, and again, I'll hesitate all over. I don't care about hesitating right now. I just want to know which fingers are going down at the same time. And you can see how they line up in the music between the stabs. That's when the notes go down at the same time. So the first one is by itself, and then the half notes go down at the same time because they line up there. They don't go down at the same time because they line up. They go down at the same time because they're both on beat 1 of the measure. It's just in looking at the music, you can see they line up, and that kind of helps. At least it does me. So it's here. 1, 2, and 3. And right when I play the first 8th note, the left hand comes up. 1 and 2 and 3 and then here, this, and then here, and then these notes here. Left hand's a whole note, hold it, or half note, hold it down. The first measure is the second line. The left hand, you hold that dotted half note down 3 counts. 1 and 2 and 3 and then on beat 4, you just play it. In other words, the left hand, you hold it down until beat 4, and then you play it again. 2 and. Once I have an idea what the hands are doing, then I'll go back through it a few, I don't know, 100 times or whatever it takes, and slowly work out the hesitations. The beat needs to be a steady beat throughout the whole thing. You can go as slow as you need to, it doesn't matter. But get rid of the hesitations. Don't let them stay. They become part of your playing if you let them stay. Once you have that, then we'll think about the articulation. Here we have the slurs. Slur. See the curved line at the beginning goes between the stabs? That's how they do it when the notes are in different stabs. Connect this and this. That. Actually, in the left hand, I'm going to connect that also, but it just happens. 1 and 2, and then connect this. And then the last measure, it's down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up for 2-note slurs. Down, up. And the here, you just connect it as best you can. You can't, but. Now, in the second line, in the first measure, you're slurring this. In the left hand, you're holding it down. But before I go on, that ends a phrase. That ends a phrase. This starts a new phrase. Like it was at the beginning. I want a little silence there. So it's. So there's a little silence between beats 3 and 4. It's like taking a breath, because it's a phrase. See, there's nothing in the music that tells you where the phrase is. And some music they do, and this one they didn't. But we can listen to the melody and hear the sentences, the musical sentences. It's a new thought. So it's a new phrase. So there's a little silence. Okay. Last line here. Go ahead and lift up each time. Lift up. Each one is a thought. A very short thought, but it's a thought. And lift up. So there's a little silence. The second measure, the last line, lift up. And third measure again, lift up. Yeah, that's the articulation basically. Then we can think about the dynamics. Well, it's changing, so let's look at this. It starts out MF at the beginning, see, in between the stabs. That's where the dynamics is supposed to go, in between, usually. MF is mezzo forte, and that means medium loud, or moderately loud, or sort of loud. Not loud, just sort of loud. And that's the melody. All this other stuff, these half notes in the left hand, they need to be in the background. Can you go sort of loud, soft? Right there. So we hear the melody. Now in the last line, you're moderately loud at the beginning of it in the right hand, because that's melody. The left hand's still soft. Now you go up to F forte is loud, here. So the left hand is loud, soft. Loud, soft, like so. And now you get a P for piano, which is soft. Melody. Well, that's where the left hand was. Now the left hand's got to go real soft. Now PP is pianissimo, or very soft. PP is not twice as soft as P. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't multiply. PP is just a little softer than P. You got soft and you got very soft. So this is very at the end. And this, how soft can you play that last note in the left hand? Because we want to hear, that's the melody. So I want to play this, but I want it to be super soft. If you can't, then go ahead and play it the same as the right hand. It gets in the way. I want the melody to be heard out, is the point. So what it is in the last line is you loud there, and then you go down to soft. You diminuendo or decrescendo is what's called. It gradually gets softer. Yeah. There's a symbol for that, and we'll get to that later. Just do this for now. Then once you have that way, think about the speed. Allegro, depending on who you ask, it means fast. Some people say it means happy. To me, happy is something else. I take it as fast. So if you're going to be happy, be quick about it, I guess. And how fast is fast? Well, I don't know. It's like how loud is loud. It's to you. The piece has to be accurate. How fast can you do these eighth notes? I'm probably going to tell you about how fast you can take the piece, because it all needs to be at one speed and it all needs to be accurate. So it's here. 2, 3. We're not talking about the speed of the beat. We're talking about the overall feel of the piece. But again, it has to be accurate. So you take it at your fast, not mine. I need to explain another idea about interpreting music. I probably haven't explained much of anything about interpreting music. Okay, time to start and add that on to everything else. As I said before, the written music doesn't give you everything. It gives you the general idea, the general guide, the general schematic of what to do and of how to get the sounds out. It's up to you to add the stuff to make it musical, to interpret it. Most teachers don't teach interpretation. I had very few teachers had anything to do with interpretation. Their teaching is what's called the ape method, and that is monkey see, monkey do. That's where the teacher says, here, play it like this, and you simply play it like that. That's how they teach. I very much dislike that approach. I mean, there's sometimes the teacher has to demonstrate stuff, but the student really needs to learn to think for themselves. They need to learn to interpret the music, how to interpret it. So there's several things we can consider in interpreting music. And we're just going to take them a piece at a time, a little bit at a time. As we go through the book, I'll keep harking on them. And the first thing we do, or at least that I do in interpreting music, and again, there's no set rule that says you got to do it in this order, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's a personal thing. This is how I do it, and this is how I teach it. First thing I do is I make sure I can feel the natural accents. Every measure has a natural accent. if you're at a dance and you're dancing to the music, most of the time you're dancing to the natural accents, whether you know it or not, you feel them. Now, a natural accent is an accent that happens naturally, duh. An accent, at least for piano, means you just play the note a little louder than what's normally expected. That's an accent. A natural accent is where you feel this, so you do it. The strongest natural accent there is the first beat of a measure. That doesn't mean it's a strong one, because if it feel it and happens naturally, there's no strong about it. You just feel it. But this is the strongest. In 4/4 time, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We feel this. 1, 2, 3. I'm exaggerating so you get the idea. When you have a pickup beat like this, we come in on beat 4. Well, you want to feel it like to here. The half note is on the natural accent, not the pickup beat. If you don't feel it that way, the listener will think the first note you played is beat 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what they'll hear. You have to feel it to here. Get 1, 2, 3, 4. And because you're just feeling it, it doesn't mean it's going to be a really loud one. That's forcing it. You have to feel it. Get into it. And this is after you've got all the mechanics out of the way. You can play the piece okay. You're not worried about rhythms and fingering and all that junk. It's all taken care of. And then you start getting into the music. And that's our first step to interpreting music. So think about that here. Now that's one way of playing it. Please don't copy me. That's just one way of doing it. You get into it and you feel it. And have fun with it. Experiment, explore. In the last line, it's like that on the here. To here, to here, to here, to here. You want to feel that natural accent at the beginning of each one of these measures. Let's play this together very slowly and check all the notes and rhythms. I don't do dynamics, the louds and softs. I don't do that on this. All we're doing is checking notes and rhythms. I'm going to play both hands about the same. So I'll give us 3 counts because we come in on beat 4. So I'm going to go 1, ready, go, and then we just take off. So let's try this together slowly. Well, slow for me anyway. 1, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 2. 1 and 2 and 3. 2 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Tie, 2, rest.